Hi guys, welcome to Watch Hobbyist channel. So in the efforts of balancing my collection, I recently purchased this watch and it was in a sale and it wasn't something I was expecting to buy, but I just saw it and I thought I fancy a blue dial watch at the time. I fancy something sporty, so I just bought the Patek actually, and I was thinking, you know, I'd love something that I can wear and not be terribly worried about, which sounds pretty sad to say, to be honest, because it's still a very expensive watch, but it's just less worrisome than owning something more expensive and, you know, for various reasons such as damaging it or even walking around certain areas or, you know, whatever. So I decided to take the plunge and go for something like this. I could return it if I wanted to, but it's actually really impressed me. It's a Tag Heuer, it's the Aquaracer, it's a 43mm sports watch, chronograph. It has a 7750 movement in there, which is basically Calibre 16, which Tag call it, and that's a really robust, reliable movement that I've had many times before. This one as well, I think Tag must really sort of do quite a lot to the accuracy of it, because it's running only around about 3 or 4 seconds per day. Which is excellent. You know, that's better than some really premium watches that I've had. So it runs nicely, and we've got the gorgeous blue dial. I think it's great. The sub dials are just the perfect size for the dial. You know, they don't sort of take over it, but they're nice. They stand out. The date window, although it's not coloured to the dial itself, I think it sort of suits it in white. I think it looks great. And we have the Tag Heuer logo, which is quite oversized, but it's also blue and it has the chrome edges around it. So, you know, still suits everything, looks really good in keeping with the dial itself. The actual case and the bracelet are really impressive too. I mean, it's quite a heavy watch. I haven't weighed it, but I would imagine with the links removed from my 6.75-inch wrist, I would imagine it's going to be going on for somewhere in the region of around about 160 grams, something like that. But it's also very balanced, so it doesn't sort of flop around my wrist. I've managed to adjust it so it's just tight enough that it doesn't flop around but isn't uncomfortable. The links themselves actually use a pin system, so there's a sort of tube which goes in this section, and we have a pin which goes into it, so a little bit of faffing around to get it correct, but you know, it's doable. There is adjustment on the actual clasp itself. The clasp actually has a dive extension, so it's you know, it'll go over your dive suit or whatever, because this is a diver's watch. It's 300 meters water resistant. But the dial itself, back to that, fantastic, really gorgeous sort of dial. Really impressed actually with how nice it is. I'm sure it's sort of maybe stamped or machine created, but the effect of it is really lovely. I don't know if you can see sort of how it catches the light in the video. It goes from a very deep sort of dark blue to black to a very light blue in some cases as well. It sort of really changes colour. Really lovely effects, you know. Nice to see that, because when you're out on a sunny day and you're moving your wrist about, it really catches the eye. It's lovely. The case is very well finished in my opinion. I think it's you know, certainly something I wasn't actually expecting for this price point, because obviously the price point does sometimes determine how much finishing you achieve and receive when you purchase something. But we have slight polish sections to the bracelet, so if you can see the thinner bar areas, they're polished. Now I believe on the newer variants of this watch, this is actually, I'm not sure if it's discontinued, but there is certainly a version now which has all satinized brush to the bracelet, and that's a real shame, because I think it's the polished sections which actually add to the sort of aesthetic of this watch, because they match up with the gorgeous case. Now the case itself has a really nice clean polish on the side. No, it's not going to be like something like a Patek Philippe, because there's waviness sort of going on to the polish. It's not as perfect because it's not probably hand finished. Bezel as well has a lovely sort of polished area to the chamfer around it, and then we have polished tabs on the bezel, and we have a satinized side to it and a satinized top, and that, the way it catches the light, is great. Now it can also be not so great, because we have, I think we might have a bit of anti-reflective coating going on the crystal, but when the sun catches the watch, if the crystal reflects and it catches the bezel as well, it does sort of shine right back at you and blind you. So that is something to be aware of. However, it's not really been a problem, and I actually like the way it just catches the light. The whole watch sort of has a great sheen to it. The 7750 movement in there, like I say, running really accurate. It's a really robust movement, something I would highly recommend in a lot of chronographs, and it is really sort of like the go-to chronograph movement for many years. It's been absolutely fantastic, and it still is. It shows that, you know, that it can run well, and you've got the nice sort of chronograph pushers here which have a really good solid click to them. We have a screw down crown which, when you unscrew it and you get to the first position, you can then change the date, quick set date. You can pull it out and it actually hacks the seconds, so you can set the watch accurately. It has a nice screw down turn to it, about 3 or 4 turns on the screw. So not too many, but you know, gives enough of a feeling that you know it's waterproof, this watch. 300 meters. It's quite a thick watch, but it's sort of still, in my opinion, I like how it wears. So speaking of how it wears, I've put the watch on my wrist now. I'm just going to lock it into place, and if I just push this down, okay, so we've got a really nice secure click. That's not going to do anything. Now I know you see the blue plastic on here. I'm still debating whether to send the watch back or not, but I don't think I will be doing. I think it's actually going to be a keeper, this one, because I really do love it. But basically got a nice secure clasp fitment to it, and now you know the watch just wears really nicely. It doesn't flop around or anything. And this is the watch on my 6.75 inch wrist, so I don't know if you can see how it wears particularly well because of the lighting I've got going on in here, but for me, I've got a nice curvature here of the bracelet. It's a big watch, there's no getting away from that. It's a 43mm diameter watch, but for me, the way it wears, the way it looks, everything about this watch has really appealed to me more than I ever expected. And I'm really glad, because I've always liked Tag Heuers, but unfortunately they've gone away a lot from this type of design in recent years. They've gone more to sort of skeletonized dials, trying to push you know, smart watches, and I just don't know. I mean, alright, I understand it's a business, it's got to keep up with current trends, and you know, they've got to try and excel at everything they do to make profits, and of course that's what every business is about. But at the same time, you know, like I saw with Breitling, when they went to all these new fonts and things like that, suddenly the whole brand changed overnight, and in my opinion it sort of put me off a lot. There's only a couple of Breitlings now that I would consider. I do have an Aerospace which I love, which is the current Aerospace, and it's great, but a lot of the others I've been put off by. But yet recently, again, that's another brand that's come back to what it did best, you know, the sort of period when it did best, and now they're starting to appeal to me again. And this is, to me, what Tag is all about. Tag Heuer, to me, has always been about elegant sort of sports watches that aren't terribly expensive. You know, they are, you know, just a reasonable price point, and you get a lot of watch for the money. And really, you know, if we think about it in a first world problem situation, you know, what more do you need out of a watch? This is a great watch. It's a really lovely piece, and I kind of feel like it's made me realise you don't need to spend absolute fortunes. And you know, there's plenty of people that can't spend a lot of money on a watch, but they can maybe push towards this, you know, with a few months salary or whatever, and there's nothing wrong with it. You know, you should never feel like you have to spend an absolute fortune to get a proper watch, because you don't. Things like this exist. I think it's absolutely lovely, and like I say, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a keeper, because I really like everything about it. I like its look, its technical abilities, its timekeeping. The weight is quite heavy, but it's balanced, so it's not going to be a problem. And I love it. One thing I didn't mention, my battery's running out of my camera, but one thing I didn't mention is it's actually got a rotatable bezel as well, so you can use that for diving. It has a loomed pip here at the top as well, and the loom all around the dial on the markers and the hands is excellent. It goes really bright first and then levels off to sort of a reasonable amount that you can see it through the night as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this little review of the 300m water resistant Tag Heuer Aquaracer. I'll put the model number in the description. I think it's CAY2112, but I'll confirm that. And thanks for watching. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you again soon.